So, a very warm good evening, everyone. This is Anshika this side, and as a part of the resume project challenge from the Code Basics, I'm going to present my work in front of you all. I would be really glad if you all could be my stakeholders and provide some constructive feedback for the project. So, let's dive in. The project is focusing on a company known as Goodcabs, which operates in tier 2 cities. So, why tier 2 cities? There is a tremendous potential of growth in terms of the revenue as well as the trip volume in the tier 2 cities because right now the population is exploring and flourishing in the tier 2 cities itself. What is there for the driver and the passengers over there? So for the drivers, they get to earn and make a living while staying in their home city. And for the passengers, they have the comfort as well as the safety and the promise of the good cab company. So even after operating for 2 years, the company is facing some challenges. There is a stagnant growth in terms of the revenue, trip volume, as well as the customer satisfaction and retention. This is where the role of data analysts come. So this project is handed over to me by the chief of operation of Goodcabs itself, where they wanted to know how they can work and resolve this issue. So let's dive into the project. So my problem statement is that the good caps, which is operating in tier 2 cities, wanted to increase the trip volume, customer satisfaction, and repeat passenger rate, which would help them to achieve their target potential in 2024. They are basically operating right now in the tier 2 cities such as Kochi, Jaipur, Chandigarh, Lucknow, Vishakhapatnam, Indore, Surat, Mysore, Vadodara, and Coimbatore. We can broadly classify these cities into two broad categories, such as the business focused cities as well as the tourist focused cities. So, what are my objective and goals here? So, the objective here would be delivering the actionable insight for for the company in terms of the operation efficiency, customer satisfaction, and the revenue growth. So, where I would be analyzing the data for the trips, passenger behavior, and the driver performance, optimize the area to give the improvement in the revenue as well as the passenger and the driver satisfaction, and given some of my recommendation, which would be some actionable stuff which the company can take in order to achieve their business goal. So, briefly, I wanted to go through the data set. So this data set is stored locally in my SQL database where there is two types of database. One would be the trips, second one would be the target database. In the trips, it has the information regarding the trip volume, the passenger and the driver behavior, as well as the revenue and what is the information regarding the customer behavior, whether they are new or old repeated ones, and what is the frequency in which they are taking the trip. And the target, they have their goals which have they set it for themselves in terms of the trip volume, the new passenger which they wanted to achieve, as well as the passengers rating. So before beginning my project, I had briefly gone through a project planning part where I used the aim script in order to classify things like what should be the purpose of this project, what all could be my stakeholders, what is the end result, and what is the success criteria on the basis of which I can tell whether this project was successful or not. So now I begin my step with the data transformation for which I had used the Power Query. And in the Power Query, I looked for the cleaning part where I had looked for the null values. I handled the missing data, duplicate, and looked for some kind of outliner. I had normalized data and optimized it. And this clean data set I further used in the Python. I have used the Python, NumPy, and the Pandas for the pre-processing to get the glimpse like what this messy data set want to say to me. What would be the total revenue? What is the trip volume? What is the driver ratings, passenger rating? What are the trends? So basically, I have explored all those things in the Python itself. After that, I have loaded this data and integrated it with my Power BI. So and begin my data modeling. So for the data modeling, I have used the star schema where the dimension table and the fact tables are connected to each other from the one-to-many relationship, which would help me to group things and know the trends. So I have used all the best practices. Now let me go through the data modeling. So this is the dim city, dim date, which are the dimension table, and rest all are the fact tables here itself. So all the columns are connected to each other with the city ID in the dim city, as well as in the dim date. I have the start of month, which has like the repeated values, for which I have created a bridge table which has the unique start of month value, and from that I have extracted the month name, and I've connected all other fact tables with help of this bridge table, which would help me to group data by the month. After the data modeling, I have created a key matrix table where have calculated all the key metrics like the total revenue, what will the trip volume, RPR, average rating of the driver and the passenger, revenue per trip, revenue per kilometer, revenue per person, and what are the target achievement. And for that, I have used the calculated sum x all testing count and the same period last year, DAX features. So when I have created all these metrics, I have myself like separately created a benchmark table where I would know what is the total revenue, what is the total trip volume, average per kilometer, average per person, and what is the average distance. So I have created all that benchmarks separately in the notepad itself, and then I have cross-checked whether my calculation are correct or not. So from that I got an idea that the key metrics I have created are all correct itself, and I can move ahead further. So yeah, now I wanted to show how my dashboard look. So this is how my dashboard looked like. We have here a landing page with a home button about the project, and you can download the project itself. And I have this buttons, explore the dataset and insights. And when you click on the home button, you get to see all the views I have created. The one is first one is the executive view. I have created for the executive one to know whether their targets are achieved. For the city manager, I have created the city performance analysis, and for the marketing team, I have created a revenue and the customer behavior to know the monthly trends. I have created a seasonal demand analysis, and to know whether they are operating efficiently or not, I have created an operation efficiency one. Now let's explore the dashboard. So I have around six filter here. So one is the month name with all the months. I have like 6 months data only here itself of the 2024. Then city type, whether it's a business class or the tourist class cities. What all are the cities data I have. The passenger, whether they are new or the repeated one. What about the day category, whether it's a weekday or a weekend, and what's the frequency of the trip taken by the passenger, whether it's ranging from 2 to 10. This is my city performance analysis. This is how it looks. Let's go to seasonal demand analysis, where I have created a dynamic title which will tell which city and which months are selected itself. Like, let me show you. So suppose if I select Jaipur. So here you could see the selected city is Jaipur and the month. So here you could see what are the peak month, low month trips. And in the operation efficiency, I have these all the KPIs. This one is the conversion rate. Conversion rate usually means the number of passenger that are new and are converting into the repeating, means they are repeating their trips. And then there is a city level analysis. Yeah, now let's go back to our presentation. So now we'll start with the analysis part. So now we wanted to know what are the top and three and bottom three cities by the total trip volume. So clearly, first of all, from this pie chart, it's easily visible that Jaipur, Lucknow, and Surat are the top performing cities. They are contributing around 45% to the contribution of to the trip volume. See here, Lucknow, Jaipur, Surat, and the low performing cities are Visakhapatnam, Coimbatore, and Mysore. Now, the second one, we wanted to know about the pricing efficiency, for which we have two key metrics. One would be the average fare per trip, and I have compared it with the average trip distance. So when we compare these things, I have Jaipur, Kochi, and Chandigarh as the top performing ones, cities which are contributing to the revenue, as well as in the bottom three we have Lucknow, Vadodara, and Surat. Clearly, you could see Jaipur itself is contributing around 35% to the revenue. When we see revenue per kilometer, it's 484 rupees, and for the Kochi it's 335, and the distance travel is 30 kilometer, prox 30 kilometer. So from this we can infer that three things. Like, first would be the dynamic pricing which the company is using in the Jaipur is working efficiently. Second would be the people are taking trips for the longer distance. Third would be like the number of people that are taking the premium services are far greater than a normal mini service which they are offering, for which we don't have the data, like which kind of services these passengers are taking. Next would be to see the trends in the drivers and the passenger rating, and we have to segment them by the passenger type. So clearly, in the drivers rating and the passenger rating, the cities that are excelling are the Kochi, Visakhapatnam, and Jaipur. For the for bottom star, we have Vadodara, Lucknow, and Surat. Now if we classify them according to the new passenger and the repeated passenger, so for new passenger we can easily see that the drivers are maintaining their services, like quality service. That's why they are getting a very high ratings when the passenger is traveling for the first time. But when it comes to the repeated passenger, we can easily see there is a dip in performance. Like, There are cities such as Vadodara, Surat, and Lucknow where the RPR is very high, but the ratings are very slow. So what we can do to handle this crisis would be that first of all we need to train our drivers. Second thing would be we wanted we want to improve our customer feedback services. Third would be providing maybe an affordable solution in these cities, so the rating might be improved. Next, we wanted to know what are the peak and the low demand months by the cities. So itself, I will tell, like suppose I have selected Jaipur. For the Jaipur, the peak demand month is the February where people have taken around 16K trips. The low demand month is June. Around 1K people have traveled itself in the June. If we see the weekend versus weekday trip ratio, so a lot of people have traveled in the weekend itself. Like people are traveling a lot in the Jaipur during the weekend itself, and the city is contributing around 18% to the total trip volume. This is easily visual here itself. Now, next we wanted to know what are the total trips taken on weekend versus the weekday. So we can classify the city into the business focus city and the tourist focus city. For the business focus city, we can easily see that the people traveling a lot on the weekdays itself. For like people are using our services, the company's services for the daily day-to-day commute, maybe to their office, maybe to some event, or maybe some corporate event. But when it comes to the tourist focus city, people are traveling a lot on the weekends. Now, the sixth one is we wanted to analyze the repeat passenger frequency and its contribution to the city. So first, the Jaipur, Lucknow, and Surat here also surpass other states itself. Jaipur alone is contributing around 15% to the RPF. RPF here is the frequency of passengers that are repeating their services when it is. So the formula would be the repeat passenger within the state versus the total passengers. And now this one is an interesting chart we could see here. So if we see RPR is high in the states, I mean the cities of the Surat, Indore, and the Vadodara itself. So which means people are loyal here in these cities. Like people are take same person is taking the cab services even up to like 9 and 10 times. So for them, it is not the luxury but a basic means for which they are using for traveling to destination A to destination B. But when it comes to the cities like Jaipur, Kochi, we could easily see that number of people traveling for like 2 or 3 trips only. Then there is a sharp decline in the frequency of travel itself. See, people are traveling very less. Like around 4.5k people have traveled for the second trip itself, which means whenever what I can infer from this is whenever there is some kind of event in the Jaipur, like I know in Jaipur we have an event known as the Jaipur literacy event, where Jaipur literature event, sorry. So Jaipur literature event where a lot of people come to just look over and have a good look into the book section. For this is like the classic nerdy thing. Yeah, this is what we can get from this data. Now we wanted to know about the target achievement rate. So if we see the target are achieved in the cities of Jaipur for the passenger goal for the trips volume as well as they wanted to, but they are not able to achieve the new passengers. So I have here created the I have used the conditional formatting here and have created the icons. So which would tell me whether the targets are achieved or not. So in Jaipur it is exceeding. In other cities we have is Mysore and Kochi. And then I have this line chart which is showing me the trend for the months itself. So for the revenue, if I'll tell you the revenue, we don't have the targets for the revenue itself, but we could easily see that there is a sharp increase of like 10% and then there is a dip. Then we wanted to know what is the highest and the lowest RPR by the city and the month. So the RPR is very high in the cities of Surat, Lucknow, and Indore, and low in the cities like Chandigarh, Jaipur, and Mysore itself. So RPR is repeat passenger rate, like number of passengers that are repeating their trip itself. So here you could see that the person in Surat is taking 2 trip, 3 trip, 4 trip. Like they are using this service for daily commute itself. But for the city like Vishakhapatnam or maybe we take Jaipur, people are using it if for like 2 times or maybe 3 times. Then there is a sharp dip in it. And by month, we can easily see that RPR increases from April to June by 5%. And these April, May, June is alone contributing to around 65% of the RPR. Now let's dive deep into the analysis. We wanted to know what is the person conversion rate trends by city. So this city like Surat, Lucknow, and Indore. So people are either satisfied or this is all their only way for commuting from one place to another, from destination A to destination B. So the conversion rate is very high, like around 75% in the city of Surat. While in the cities of Jaipur and Mysore, people are using it like one time or two times. That's why the conversion rate is very low. And passenger conversion rate is following the trend of RPR itself, like it is increasing from April to June itself. Now, what are the key insights I get from this data? So, cities with constant repeat passengers, such as the Lucknow and Surat, these are the constant performer when it comes to the trip count as well as the repeat frequency. So, these would likely benefit from the reliable service, competitive pricing, and the stable demand. For the seasonal pattern and loyalty, such as tourist cities such as the Jaipur and Mysore, which experience like the seasonal spike and lack, year-round loyalty. So, tailored marketing campaigns and the promotion offer during the low seasons can improve the retention. Improvement strategies for the low performing cities. So, in our entire analysis, we came to know that Coimbatore and Vadodara are far lacking in terms of everything. So, they need some special focus. So, first, they need to improve their service quality, they need to work upon their pricing campaign, and they have to work with the local partnership to thrive in these cities. And when it comes to a low performing month, they can easily be handled with the dynamic pricing, event based promotions, better visibility of the service during this period. Now we wanted to know what are the factors that are affecting the passenger repeat passenger rate, that is RPR. So for the high RPR cities like Surat, Lucknow, and Mysore, it these cities are like the business focused cities. For them, for the people living there, time is money. For so the timely service and high driver rating for. Then for the low RPR cities, we have Mysore, Vadodara, and Coimbatore. So people need to invest in the customer service experience. And then it would be the pricing. So competitive pricing in the business city, it is all the reason that drives the repeat uses. And in the tourism area, so there is a fluctuation in the pricing that affects the retention. When we talk about the demographic, so higher income leads to affordability and loyalty. And for the tourist city, diverse profile lowers the repeat rate. So what are my key insights here is that reliability and constant pricing are the key for high IPR. Then we have the to create an ad hoc summary. So this is somehow what look like. So I have used SQL, and all this SQL query I have attached and uploaded to my GitHub. Please kindly go through it. I won't go through it detail, otherwise this video would be long. So I have created a report. This is how some look like. Now, what are my recommendations here? So first would be the service enhancement for the repeat passengers in the cities like Jaipur and Kochi, and training for the quality service in the low rating cities like Surat and Vadodara. Second would be the targeting campaign, which would target tourist focused cities, which would give them incentives to travel in the peak month, and promotions for the business city like Chandigarh to retain its corporate client. Third would be the resource allocation. So the resources should be increased in the high demand month in the tourist cities, and introduce a cost saving ride options during the off seasons in the cities like Mysore. And my last recommendation would be the data driven pricing model, which would address the fare inefficiencies in the cities like Vadodara by aligning the trip distance and the pricing, and implement the dynamic pricing in Kochi and Jaipur during the peak periods to increase the revenue. So, if all the suggestions are followed, so in terms of the revenue itself, there would be 10 to 15% of increase in revenue per trip in the low performing cities. When we talk about the retention strategies, the passenger loyalty can be increased by 20%, which will increase the overall revenue by 50 plus L per month. That's huge. And third would be the operation savings, where the fleet utilization can be improved in the cities like Coimbatore and Surat, which would reduce their operation cost by 8 to 12% maximum. What are the future strategies? So first will be to, in the tourist cities, what they can do, they can collaborate with the local businesses, like picking up the people from the airport or the railway station, and cross promotion with. And for the corporate ones, what they can do, they can provide their services and then can collaborate with the companies for day-to-day commute. And if this companies go into the EV adoption, so they can just start a pilot programs in few cities to check how the people are adapting. And first would be this. Second would be that the government is right now providing a lot of subsidies for the people to shift from the petrol ones to the electric ones. So initiative like electric car sharing program and eco-friendly material would efficiently improve the operation cost and increase the revenue. So third, I want to suggest to collect data upon